I'm here.
Amy Bro,
Here.
Robert Broomfield,
Here.
okay. Chen Ying, or Ying Chen, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Elizabeth Dalala,
Here.
Michael Eicholtz,
Here.
Scott Gilbert,
Here.
Rolando Gonzalez Torres,
He's
Michael Michael Hyland, Elaine Drakowski, Arash Kamahi,
Here.
Sung Hee Lee,
Yes.
Yutin Lee,
I'm here.
Patrick McGrath. Okay, I
Here.
see you. Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Khalid Mexam,
I'm here.
Grant Miller, Amanda Pangrazio,
Here.
Mike Phillips,
Present.
Jeffrey Pumsky,
Here.
Bethany Rader,
Here.
Walter Ray,
Present.
Lorelei Ritchie,
Here. Hello.
Diana Sarko,
Here.
Jennifer Sherry, Sylvia Smith,
Here.
Sho Ceramic,
Here.
Julie Tate, Lee Ching Wan,
Here.
Sherry Watson,
Here.
Rachel Whaley,
Here. Briefly.
and Jennifer Walker is a proxy for Stacy McKinney.
Yes, here.
Okay,
Are you done?
yes.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda, approval of the minutes. Any correction, discussion before we have a motion? Okay, no more.
So moved.
Okay, Joe moved. Anyone second?
I'll second.
Okay, Amy second. So we're going to have a voice vote. Ready, Julie?
I am. This is for approval of the minutes.
Yes.
Eric Black, Amy Bro,
Yay.
Robert Broomfield,
Yay.
Ying Chen,
Yes.
Elizabeth Dalala,
Yes.
Michael Eicholtz,
Yay.
Scott Gilbert,
Yay.
Rolando Gonzalez Torres, Michael Hyland, Elaine Drakowski. Okay, I
She said
see.
yeah, yeah.
Yes,
The microphone doesn't work. She said yeah.
Okay. Arash Kamahi,
Yes.
Sung Hee Lee,
Yes.
Yutin Lee.
You call me right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Patrick McGrath,
Yes.
Khalid Mexam,
Yes.
Grant Miller,
Yes.
Amanda Pancrazio,
Yay.
Mike Phillips,
Yes.
Jeffrey Punsky,
Yes.
Bethany Rader,
Yes.
Walter Ray,
Yes.
Lorelei Ritchie,
Yes.
Diana Sarko,
Yes.
Jennifer Sherry, Sylvia Smith,
Yes.
Joseph Schrammick,
Yes.
Julie Tate, yes. Lee Ching Wong,
Yes.
Sherry Watson,
Yes.
Rachel Whaley,
Yes.
and Jennifer Walker.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. I think Eric Black in the chat room said yes.
Okay, I was just getting ready to pull up my chats.
Good. Thank you. Well, I'm going to move to the next item on the agenda, President report or remarks. Good afternoon, everyone. As you know, our July-August issue of Faculty Senate updates and FIY went out to all faculty members by the end of July. In addition, I have several business items or matters to report to you very briefly. Number one, or first, I attended the SIU Board of Trustees meeting on July 21st. I made a few remarks to the Board of Trustees meetings. I also shared a copy of my remarks with you and other faculty members in our newsletter. Second, or number two, I had a meeting with new Vice Chancellor of Research, Dr. Kostas Tsatsounis, on August 4th. I introduced Faculty Senator to him, invited him to give us an update at each of our Faculty Senator meetings starting on September 13th, that means today. Number three, or third, I had 3 EOC meetings. Emergency Operating Centers meetings on August 8th, August 29th, and also yesterday. We discussed SIUC reopening plan and monkeypox virus. For example, yesterday, September 12th, we had the third EOC, Emergency Operating Centers meeting. I brought up the faculty senators meeting issue of whether we will meet in person or by Zoom to their discussion. The response from them, it's up to us. Based on the CDC's guideline, we are still in the red and yellow zone. This is the feedback from them. So the Zoom and masks, Zoom meeting or masks, if we meet in person, are recommended. This is the general feedback from the EOC meeting. Number four, or fourth, I had a monthly meeting with Chancellor Nan. We talked about university strategic plan, faculty hires, and faculty equity issues. I also mentioned about faculty timesheet process. Number five, on August 12th, I had a meeting with both Provost Kumaraju and Associate Provost Mark Morris on shared governance and faculty support. Number six, on August 19th, I attended the new faculty orientation organized by the Center of Teaching Excellence. I shared a copy of my PowerPoint with the new faculty members about shared governance. Number seven, on September 2nd, I had a meeting with Associate Provost Mark Morris about the process of implementing the faculty time sheet policy. Finally, last week, there were 3 interviews for the candidates of Vice Chancellor of Administration and Finance. I attended one of them to represent the faculty senator on September 7th. Due to my conflict of schedule of teaching, I appreciate Senators Mike Echols, Senator Seung-Hee Lee, and Senator Ilan Joukowsky for their covering 2 of other interviews of 2 other candidates on September 8th and September 9th. Thank you so much. Any questions or comments for me? Well, if there's no question, comments, I would like to move on. Okay, the next one on agenda is Q&A session with Chancellor and the Provost. We have about 25 minutes here. Chancellor Nan, Provost Kumarajo, are you there? Chancellor
I'm
Nan?
here. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
here and Chancellor is also here.
Okay. Chancellor Nan, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All floor is yours.
Did you
Go
want to
ahead.
do some Q&A or
Well, you will maybe give us a brief overview, then a few questions. Either way, it's up to you.
okay. And I see Dr. Shremick, I see a hand up. You
Okay.
want to ask a question and then I can.
Sure. Dr. George Remick?
Whatever is easiest, Chancellor. My
Go
question
right
is,
ahead. No, go right ahead.
okay. Yeah, my question is a predictable one because it's about retention numbers and the recruitment numbers. We've had a couple of weeks now to think through the data that you presented last week to the executive committee. So I think I'm thinking terms about strategic, about shifts and nuances in strategy here. This is really where I'm going to go with my question. We again are down in enrollment, although as you correctly say, it could be a lot worse compared to nationwide. We've stabilized. You were telling us last week that you budgeted for roughly 11,000. We met that target. Our freshman class is up again. I think we've seen, when we were down to 930 only a few short years ago, and now we're back up to north of 1,500. I think we all see that as room for encouragement. But I'm alarmed at the slip off in the retention rate. I'm alarmed that not enough sophomores came back this year. And therefore our numbers seem to be down because the retention number slid quite a lot. So what do we need to do differently as an institution? Do we need to do things with financial aid? Do we need to do things with curriculum? In other words, extend Saluti's assess the full first year? What kinds of things are you thinking we need to do at this point? Because it seems like if we keep sliding with the retention, whatever we do with recruitment is not going to matter.
Yeah, what we need to do is stay the course. We don't need to change anything. Our best practices that we put in place are working. And let me kind of give some enrollment data just so the group knows where we are. The reason why we have to stay the course is, Dr. Shremick, as you know, a couple of years ago, we didn't even have an enrollment management coordinator. We didn't have a person in that role. Mira will tell you when she stepped in, she had to pull a lot of areas together, but it was not a university focus. The focus was we're declining, but there was no real plan to address it at that time. And that was really just 3-4 short years ago, if you think about it. Our retention number right now is at 70%. I will tell you that a couple of weeks into that, it was closer to 67%, closer to the first class day. We got it to 70%. And what was interesting is when we were talking with students who are not returning, it was not because they had any academic issues or anything like that. There were a few that did, that were in that position, but there were others that was just financial reasons, right? They couldn't they couldn't get their balances down. They had to work. A lot of them told us that they would be here in the spring because they needed to take a semester off. That's a portion of it. The other piece that I think sometimes even I forget is that the pandemic stepped in 2020. And if you look at where we get some of our drop off in students, you remember those students who started with us in the fall of 2020 fully online? If you're wanting to point to somewhere in the retention piece, there it is right there. That was a terrible semester for students to start in. We had a lot of mental health issues with students that tried to transition that way. And it played out to where we lost some of those students because of those reasons. They just started at a terrible time and weren't able to sustain that. We are recruiting those students back in those cohorts though. So that's going to be our key going forward. If you're thinking, okay, well, what's next? It's a recruit back effort for the cohort that came in 2020, the cohort that was here in 2021. For some of those students, some have gone to Logan, Ren Lake, Shawnee, to regroup themselves. But I'm confident we'll get some of those students back. But I think what we have to do is not bounce around in a lot of different areas. We've got to trust the process. We still hit 70%, which is for us is not bad. If we'd gone below that, I'd be real worried. If you look at the overall enrollment piece, very excited about that. In 3 years, we went from 1,037 students to 1,500 students. That's a 46% increase in freshmen. And so to your point, we've got to work really hard to retain those students. We've just launched some new programs. FYE is our new first year experience program to focus on students who are coming in. Really looking at our advisors and recruitment and retention coordinators as well to be a little more intrusive. And we've talked a little bit about that, Joe, just being a little more intrusive with our students. We've got reports that we had at the cabinet meeting this morning about students missing class, and we're looking at the most at-risk students that are in exploratory studies or in some of our undecided students in our University 101, those who are missing class, we're addressing that head on with them because we know they're not going to be successful if they don't go to class. So lot of work there, but I didn't mean to sound so blunt, but we've got to stay the course in some of these programs so we can decide when we look at the data, right, from our efforts, if it actually is working going forward. And that's really what a lot of our folks are committed on doing right now.
Thank you, Chancellor Nan. And we have a next question from Senator Diane Sacco. Diana Sacco.
Hi, yes, thank you. I just had a question about the faculty time reporting. And I know that it's a bit of a morale killer, I think, in general for faculty. And I just wondered, one of the things that faculty tend to be upset about is kind of the amount of time they spend with red tape or sort of bureaucracy that could maybe be more efficient, or they could be spending that time teaching or writing grants or whatever it might be. So I just wondered if we had done any comparisons with other institutions throughout the state to kind of see how they're addressing this. I know it's a state requirement and it has to be done and we have to address it, but I just wondered if we're doing it sort of in the most efficient way possible compared to other universities in Illinois, and if we can utilize our technology better to make it most efficient.
Yeah, I let Mira chime in a second here. When I saw it, actually, I kind of ignored it and thought, well, it'll go away. Surely we don't have to bother our faculty with that. That was my first, reaction because like you, and when I teach, I don't want to be bothered with much of anything except for trying to make sure I know who's going to be in my class and what I'm going to be covering. But what I found out is that it is a state requirement, and apparently we've been out of compliance with several other universities for years. It's not just us. We've got other places that are totally out of compliance, and it comes up every legislative session that we're on that bad list, where we haven't done what we need to do. So, we are obviously trying to be in compliance. And to your point, wanting to do it in the most efficient way possible. And I'll let Mira chime in. I know that we talked about some options or things that we could do to make it really seamless and easy. It's kind of like we're doing in some offices with electronic signatures now, where people don't have to worry about filling out a form or sending something in, but getting a little more high tech. So Mira, would you like to add anything there?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time that we're doing it. So we are, know that we are going to be continuously improving the process, but we did check what all the other state universities in Illinois are doing and try to get the best practices that are already in place so that we start a little bit ahead and don't reinvent the wheel. And the frequently asked questions page also kind of covers a lot of information that other universities have gathered, but we're always open to suggestions to make the process smoother for everyone.
Yeah, and tell us, if it's not working, let us know, because I think there's also an opportunity for us to get some feedback when we get into some of these hearings, when they bring it up again about us not being in compliance. So it may be an opportunity for us to share with some of the state reps that maybe, we need to rethink some of what we're doing on a faculty timesheet, and offer them some suggestions. I'm not saying push back, but I am saying push back just a little bit on how unique it is if you're asking a faculty member to sit down and do a timesheet. A little different than a staff member and some other folks.
Thank you thank you, Chancellor and Provost Kumar, to address. Second question, the third one on the floor is Senator Micah Echols.
Hey, Chancellor, going back to retention just for a second, I agree with everything you said about, I think why we didn't achieve what we were really hoping to this semester. So my question is, have you looked at other ways to evaluate to see if the actions we've taken might be helping? For example, compare the freshman GPA for the last couple of years to see if those actions are maybe having an influence there.
Yeah, Mike, I knew Mike had that statistical mind. So yeah, that's actually what we're digging into right now and trying to compare that. Obviously students that we've admitted, looking at the average GPA and looking what those students bring. And then really trying to focus this year, Mike, on more of our, not only persistence from fall to spring, fall to fall, but also progression. We noticed that the progression rates aren't where they ought to be, right? So students aren't really, finishing those first 15 hours in the fall and then 15 in the spring, and then obviously becoming a real sophomore, right? They're staying freshmen a little too long. So looking at some of that data, we can see the issue we're having right now is probably more so in that sophomore to junior year transition. If we have seniors that have issues, it's because they've exhausted maybe too much on the financial aid side. Their semesters have run out. So we've got an idea about what some of those students are doing. And then when you look at some of the things we put in place to be, as I mentioned, a little more intrusive, working with our advisors, recruitment and retention coordinators, using certain campaigns to check up on students. We are making contact with students, as I mentioned earlier, and we can find out where the holes are. But what's disheartening, again, I just literally yesterday was in the drive-through at one of the car wash places over here, and a student who was in the band, and he and I are in actually a couple of university photos that we have them on a brochure. And his hair grew out a little longer, so I almost didn't recognize him. He ran over and said, "Hey, it's one over by the post office. He's a great kid." He said, "Hey, how you doing? The chance was good to see you." I said, "Man, where have you been?" And I barely recognize you. Your hair's all grown out now. It's all long. And he said, "Yeah, I had to stop out." And man, that hit me like a ton of bricks, because this kid was with me doing interviews in his freshman year. He was fired up, and he had to stop out. A smart kid, didn't have the money. So anyway, I told him to email me. He hadn't done it yet, but I told him to email me because we were trying to salvage some students who had balances that were high to pay them down. So again, that's I digress a little bit, but it's those kind of stories that good kids, life happened to them a little bit. Financially, they're in some tough positions. And then we don't have all that federal money we used to have a couple of years ago, right, to bail some of the students out. So we just got to work harder to get that number up. We have it at 75%, Joe and Mike, to get that retention number up to 75%. So that tells you we want to be much more aggressive. There's your stretch goal for us.
I'll just add that I've talked to numerous colleagues, and they're having the same experience that I am, that I've definitely seen a decline in even the juniors and seniors after they came back from COVID, that they're just struggling to get back into in-person classes and remember how to learn in in-person classrooms. And so, I'm not surprised to see those results, but I'm not sure what the remedy is either.
Well, thank you very much for your question, Senator Echols. The next one from Senator George Ramick. You have
just a brief comment. You asked for help on pushback to the time reporting, and the answer is this: we're professionals, and I don't know of any other professional career that does timetable. Because, for example, my father was talking to me about this a week ago. Because it's irritating. Really, I do it, and I'm not going to complain too much about it, but I was telling him the first 2 weeks of the school year, I clocked myself working over 60 hours each week, and that's that's normal for a professor. And he was saying, yeah, because I'm exempt at my job from federal overtime rules. Most professions are. It's hourly employees that need to be protected and are protected by federal law. So this law is really, I know we can't do anything about it. We have to comply with state law, but this law is really problematic. I think the university, your predecessors, realized this for years because he never enforced it.
I think honestly, we can push back. I think we need to make sure our legislators know. I also think I see Dr. Punske and some others on here. I think our faculty unions or our faculty senates, whether it's a letter writing campaign, I do think we need to make sure they know that. I don't know how you document your time, being honest with you. I just don't know how you'd be able to do that. I can't figure it out,
No, because I'm reading a book from my graduate seminar all weekend. That's University of Business.
Yeah. I totally agree.
So I think we all are doing various versions of that similar story.
Yeah. Someone told me when I inquired and I had some issues with it, they said, welcome to Illinois. So I said, okay, yeah, that's a little different. Where I'm from, they didn't have to do that. So again, I think we can bring it to their attention going forward. It can't hurt.
Thank you for the question, Senator Shremek. Thank you, Chancellor, for your response. And next question from our Senator Jeffrey Punske.
This is also just a comment. I wanted to offer some support for what the Chancellor was saying, that the IEA is going to be undergoing lobbying efforts to get exemptions for university employees of our class. So this is an ongoing activity for us to really try to make sure. And I don't think anyone here wants to be doing this, administration or faculty. And long term, we're going to try to get the law changed.
Thanks for asking or answering. Yeah, thanks for that. I will throw out one more quick note on that. I have told our folks, and Mira knows this, but we're not going to penalize people here. It's not going to be any of this punitive. This is our first time out of the gate doing it. I know it's at a very terrible time to have you do this. Yeah, we're asking you to do the best you can to comply, but if you're hearing of people getting jumped on or threatened with, let us know. That's not the intent here. It is something new. So I don't want us to overreact because we haven't done it, so I don't want us to be the group that's overreacting here. If folks aren't doing it, we'll give a reminder here and there, but we want to comply, but we also don't want you to be stressed out with trying to get a timesheet in as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Senators, for your question and comments. We have about 8 minutes for this item and 4 minutes for Chancellor Nan, all for comments, and for 3 or 4 minutes, Provost Komaragios, or who will go first?
Okay, I'll go. I didn't get a chance. First of all, welcome back. I usually like to start with that, but we jump right in. But welcome back. I'm glad you're here. I know the students are glad you're here. Whether you think they are or not, now some of them are a little wore out already. I know you're picking up on those assignments that you're giving them, and they're telling me they're having to really study and work, which I said, welcome to college. That's a good thing. So welcome back. It's good to see everyone. As we talked very briefly from an enrollment standpoint, feel good there, in terms of our freshman class. Overall, for us, we were about 100 some odd students short of being up in. I tell you now, from talking to our staff, even this morning, we're committed to exceeding what we did in the overall numbers. So we're going to push that number up. We have some ideas on how we can do that. Feeling really confident about how we're going to do that. So just for history purposes, 6.8% increase in that class, largest class in a number of years. And so that was very, very good to see that. Up 2.5% in new students from the region. We committed to recruiting more students from the Southern Illinois region. That seems to be paying off. Even when we look at universities that used to take a lot of our students, you can look at their freshman classes being down a little bit and their enrollment too. So I think what we're doing there is stopping some of that outward, students leaving, going other places. From high schools that are here locally, we've received more than we have in years in terms of the senior classes that have become Salukis now. So very promising there. 3.5% increase in the transfer student population from the Southern Illinois area, Shawnee, Rend Lake, Southeastern Illinois, Logan, Kaskaskia, some of those schools that we recruit heavily in. We think that seed we plan with the Saluki Step Ahead is going to really allow us to do even more. We've got about 24, 25 of the 48 community colleges signed up. So expect that to really go forward. I think we got about 70 students now already that are tied in. We hadn't really marketed that out to some of those places. So excited about that. 4.6% increase in housing. So our housing, if you notice those walkways between campus and if they're getting a little busy, it's because we got a lot of students living here on campus, and we're excited about that. By college, we had some schools that were up and some that were down. I'll give you an example. Ag was slight. When I say down, I'm talking a few students, right, Mira? Not by many. And so this is still pretty promising. But our ag, a little down there. Arts and media was down. Business and engineering were down. Grad school was up. Health and human sciences was up, liberal arts was up, school of education was up, law was up. So we've got some areas that were up, and the ones that were down, our recruitment and retention coordinators are working like crazy to not only recruit students, but retain them. So still some promising work that's happening there. Very quickly, I want to thank Dr. Lee. He is chairing our provost search committee. Working with Wick Kiefer, and that process seems to be moving along. For those of you that are on the committee, thanks for your service being there. The expectation, at least the hope, is this fall that committee would come back with recommendations after feedback, as you know, from the entire campus community, and we'll make a decision on the provost in that particular role. So excited about that. And again, appreciate the efforts of everyone here. Board budget meeting tomorrow. Overall, on our 23 operating budget, there's some really good news there. Our appropriated funds are up. Our indirect cost recovery funds are up. Our revenue bond operations are up. Our self-supporting activities category is up. Overall, our revenue is up, and that's a really good sign. Some of that is due to the state appropriations going up. The other part of that is our tuition. As I mentioned, our tuition fund was able to stay exactly where we needed it to stay with the amount of students that we have here. It's how we really budget and know exactly what we can and can't do. We're proposing a 2% increase across the board tomorrow at the budget workshop. I'll be doing that update tomorrow and going through some of the budget. One of the things that we hope to accomplish this year is to lay the foundation for possibly after we finish our payback, which will be about a year and a half, to lay down some of the parameters on merit base, bringing the merit base pools back to the schools so those deans can disperse that out in the fashion that we normally would with a merit pool. Be working with Dr. Lee on that. Obviously, in addition to looking at our faculty internal equity study, we'll be working on that this fall as well. So I think we've got some ideas, but we need to plan now, especially we give about $5.4 million in the give back. That's a lot of money when you think about what we have to give back every year. If we had the 5.4 million, we can do a lot more with that to help with some of the salaries across campus, some of the merit pools that we're trying to create, talent retention, and those kinds of things. So a lot of work will be done this fall on that particular front. And overall, again, just safety is still a concern for us. I don't want people to think because we're not talking about our COVID numbers that we forgot about any of that or any monkeypox. As Dr. Lee mentioned, the ELC is still meeting. They're still discussing, still talking about safety. And so that is ongoing and it's going to continue. I'll stop there. Amira, I probably trampled on one of your minutes there.
That's no problem, Chancellor. I just had a few things to share. First of all, happy fall semester. We are now in the fourth week of classes, and you spent the first almost 3 weeks helping us enter the no-show grades, which was the first time for us. And that was based on some review that was done by the U.S. Department of Education, because we do receive federal, our students receive federal aid. And so we have gone through that process, and we thank all the instructors for submitting their grades for students who did not attend the first 2 weeks of classes. And the other one that we just touched on was the faculty timesheet. And so that's a work in progress that we are hoping to improve with time. And then the last item really is to just share with everyone that we welcomed 23 new tenure track faculty members. And the week before school started, we had an orientation for them, and it was and there will be an SIU Today news item going out introducing those new faculty to the campus. So with that, I'll just pause.
Thank you, Provost Cumaracho. Thank you, Chancellor Nan. I know one hand is there. Senator Shremick, you have a quick question or comment?
I have a very quick question for the provost. You mentioned we hired 23 tenure track faculty members. Do you have an idea how many we lost last year?
I don't have the exact number offhand, but typically we lose around like 30. But this time the deans had identified whoever left, and they wanted to replace them. So I think pretty much we've replaced those who left. So I don't have an exact number for fall 20.
Could you please?
But I know that everyone replaced everyone who was last. Yeah.
Right, the faculty senate with the precise answer once you find it.
Yeah, Mira, too, I wonder, I don't know if we gave it to Dr. Lee, the historical.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I've shared
make
that.
sure they have that information too.
Yeah.
I think I shared with our faculty senate executive council,
Okay.
and also I showed the 10 years data with the provost and chancellor, which is more informational. So I also shared with executive council. Thank you.
And this most recent one, yeah, Joe, we ought to be able to get that information too. I'm sure Mira can get that.
Yeah, and pretty much every dean who lost somebody replaced that that position. So we didn't really like leave any position. Sometimes what happens is they may not replace every single one, because you want to keep one line in hand just in case there are unexpected and you need to have that money for a non-tenure track. So there just may be a one-off, if at all, but really everyone was wanting to replace everyone.
Because we're short-staffed in a lot of places on the university. Very good.
Thank you. Well, I would like to move to one more question, and Senator Maxson, one more question, then we will move on. Okay.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Actually, I'm very happy that our numbers are actually up, but I'm also, kind of looking at that retention rate, and 30% actually is what we are losing. Was there any study that shows in terms of millions of dollars what that 30% means? And how can we do better? If 30% means, $20 million losses, just increasing, that retention by 10% means that we are gaining $2 million, So is there any way, we can probably take care of that issue, then we can move up, and then get more revenue to this university?
Yeah, it's that you hit the nail on the head. I mean, if you start looking at how much each one of those students costs, that's why I mentioned earlier, we budget on a conservative 11,000 count student, right? So anytime you go south of that, you've got issues, or you'll have issues. And so that's why it was so important for us to at least hold the line on the 11,000 to get us close to where we were last year. The state approach went up, but the tuition revenue stayed flat, right? So that's the good news. The 1.2% being down didn't hurt us. If you go anywhere south of that or north of that, to about 3 to 4% in losses, then you're looking at some significant money that you got to find, right? And what if that were to happen, right, we'd have to start some hiring freezes and slow down some of the hiring. And, we'd have to do some other creative things. Luckily, we don't have to do that right now. But I can't stress enough, that is why it is so important, right, to do all we can to support our students that are here, right? Because yes, we can recruit more new students, we can recruit more transfer students, graduate students, which we're going to do, but we do have to retain those that are here, and there is a fiscal impact if you don't. Just this year, we're not worried about that because we're in a good situation, but we're going to have that tuition revenue piece climb higher with just having more students. So we're constantly watching that number to make sure, it balances out so we can present what I'm going to present tomorrow in the budget where we're in a good place.
Okay, thank you so much, Chancellor Nam, Provost Kumracho, for your very valuable time and insightful comments. I appreciate you answer our questions, and because of time, and we would like to move on to the next item on our agenda. We have a special guest here, Professor Michelle Kibbe, who is our faculty ombudsperson. Professor Michelle Kibbe, are you ready?
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to try to share my screen. Can everybody see that okay? All right. As you guys know, we haven't had a person in the faculty aspect of the ombudsperson office in a very long time. I think it's been a good decade. And so I thank you for letting me present today, because I'd like to try to get the word out about my office and a little bit about what I do and don't do, just so we can get the word out there and try to get people help who need it. So the faculty ombudsperson, I work with faculty as well as graduate student assistants. So if they're a GA, I can work with them as well. And I serve as a confidential, impartial, neutral party to help with informal resolution of problems and disputes. So all those words are kind of key. People can come to me confidentially for help, and it doesn't go any further than me unless they ask. I strive to be impartial and neutral in my assistance, and I can help informally with a lot of different problems. So it could be something as simple as, I don't know where to go for help. Can you help me and who I should speak with for my problem? So one of my roles is a kind of an information conduit. I'm happy to help someone and just knowing where to go next and trying to address their problem. If their problem involves work with another person, I can also assist with informal conflict resolution and informal mediation. So kind of the key word that I've put in italics is just everything with my office is informal. It stays confidential unless, like, say they want mediation, in which case I wouldn't be able to do that confidentially. But as much as I can work with them confidentially. The downside is that I do work for the pro and the con informally. And so if somebody wants to do go through the formal process to handle a dispute, for example, they would not come to me as I don't work with formal resolution processes. They would either go through the normal formal university channels, or they could go through their union representative, but they would not come to me. So for example, I'm not involved with any grieving, filing, or giving notice. I work in an informal fashion. Through my confidential function, I don't even keep named paperwork. And so I wouldn't be involved with any formal disputes or complaints. I can also, even though I can't advocate for a specific party because my job is to be impartial and neutral, I can advocate and work with the upper administration on policy change. So if if we're seeing systematic problems that are happening, I can work with upper administration toward policy change to address those. And I also report annually on the number and types of cases that I see to the chancellor and making recommendations, again, to think about, are there systematic issues that need to be addressed? So those are kind of my office in a nutshell. I'm currently working on the website to give a lot more details and breakdown of those functions. And I'm working with the staff ombudsperson and the student ombudsperson in making that website. So it's taking a little bit of time, but we are working on that. One question I got while I was at grad council that I thought was an excellent question is how do you differ from working with a union representative? The union representative can work with you both formally and informally, but it has to be in relation to a conflict problem or something in relation to the CBA. So if it's not related to the CBA and you're having a conflict with someone, for example, then they might prefer you to come to my office. So if it's related to the CBA, they're definitely happy to work with you formally and informally. But if it's not, then you would pursue other avenues. So, okay, I think I'm ready for just general questions that the faculty senators may have.
Any question, comments for Professor Michelle Kippy? Okay, we have one question from Sunita Noile Richie.
Hi, yes, thank you. So I've heard of this process and it's really interesting to me, but and maybe others know a lot more about it, but in case they don't, and I know I don't, and I'd love to know more. I was wondering if, just obviously preserving confidential information, if you could give us an example of a situation where somebody properly, appropriately invoked going to you as the ombudsperson and the way in which you were able to help resolve their dispute.
Okay. I just started about 3 weeks ago. So I can't, the cases that I have, if I've had come to me so far, I cannot use it as examples, but I can give you hypothetical examples. So let's say there is a tenure track or tenured or non-tenure track, any faculty member, and they're struggling getting the resources they need or the guidance and where they should go. Let's say it's a issue with trying to get a certain type of equipment and they don't have, and they're working with their director on this and they maybe need a little help with procurement guidelines. Or they may be having a question related to benefits or leave and they're not sure who to speak with at Human Resources. They might just need information about the person that they should go to address their problem. And since I've just started, it's hard to come up with a variety of specific examples. But if they're having problems related to doing their job or to things that may fall under Human Resources, but they're not sure where to go, they can come and work with me. And then if I'm not sure where to send them, I will get more information and get back to them. The benefit is that I have a lot of contacts being in my office. So I can speak with, say, directors and so forth and get quick information and get back to them on how to address their problem. In terms of informal conflict resolution, let's say you're having problems with a coworker. You're wanting to keep it confidential, so you don't want to go the mediation route yet, but you just might want assistance in how can I better handle this person? I'm really struggling in working with them. I can give you some tips in working with conflict resolution, whether through role playing or general advice or guidance. I also, if they want to maybe have some help with informal mediation where you're coming together in my office, I can help with that as well.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions for Dr. Michelle Kippy? Okay, so it seems to me that there is no more question for Dr. Michelle Kippy. Well, thank you so much, Professor Michelle Kippy, for your presentation. And if you have any more questions or comments, you can contact her directly. So now, if you have no more questions, I would like to move on to our reports.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, reports, executive council's meeting, actually, I read, so I do not want to repeat what I said. So I'm going to invite Vice President Bethany Reda to talk about election.
Yes, excuse me. So I am just now finishing up my lists of faculty that are eligible for election from the units that we are missing seats. And so that should be done tonight. I'm just waiting on some confirmations. At which point I will actually need to talk to the Committee on Committees because I realized that none of my election committee members from last year are on Senate anymore. So I will be contacting them to help elect a election committee. At which point, once we should be able to approve those lists and then get those nominations emails out. So that's where we are.
Okay, thank you. Because Senator Scott Gilbert will have to teach, so I would like to invite him to report on faculty status and welfare committee before he leaves. Scott?
Thank you, Tink, because I have 9 minutes, but so exciting to be here for the first fall Faculty Senate meeting. So quite excited to be with you all. It's rather early on for this committee, so we haven't had any formal structured. We've had some discussions amongst the committee and trying to keep the committee member count going and to get a co-chair for the committee as well. But kind of aside from those and some internal expressions of concern about a matter or two, I don't think we have anything to bring forward to the Faculty Senate at this time. So that would be it, I think.
Okay, thank you, Scott. So the next item, I would like to invite Vice President Bethany Reda and also the co-chair Patrick McGross and Khalid Maxon and to take care of this. Bethany, would you like to?
Absolutely. So at this point, I would like to invite the co-chairs for Governance Committee to give a report on their doings.
Okay, sure. Thank you. And Khalid, please feel free to interrupt me or correct any of my errors. So we basically just have two issues to report. One has to do with the parliamentarian, and because we have not been able to attract a parliamentarian to serve external, an individual external to the Faculty Senate, we have begun discussions among the Governance Committee about whether or not we would like to consider the possibility of a current senator serving as a parliamentarian. And that's really, we're only in the preliminary stages of that discussion. The response that Khalid and I received from the Governance Committee members was general favor for that idea. That is to say, for a current senator being elected to serve as parliamentarian. I think that's something that we'll probably continue to discuss perhaps at the executive committee meeting before our October Faculty Senate meeting. And then the other issue is, let me check my email regarding this very quickly. So we were asked, the Governance Committee was asked for an informal review of the Constitution of the Asian Faculty and Staff Council. We were asked to conduct an informal review of that Constitution on August 22nd, and we did conduct an informal review of that Constitution, and we really have we didn't have any suggestions regarding that Constitution. In the email that was sent to us, it was noted that the Constitution was modeled off of the Constitution of another faculty and staff organization. And so it seemed to us to be a very reasonable Constitution and to clearly outline the function of this organization and the need for the organization on the SIU campus. And so we conducted our informal review, and we have no suggestions or additions to the constitution of the Asian Faculty and Staff Council at this time. I think that's all I have to say. I'm sorry if I went on too long. Khalid, do you have anything to add?
No, you got actually all of it, so.
At this time, I'd also like to invite Yuting Lee to say a few words, if he has any, about the Constitution that you all should have received in your email and had a chance to review.
Okay, may I have like 2 minutes to share 1 or 2 pages PowerPoint with the senators?
Mhm.
Share screen, okay. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I would like to summarize the cover letter, which give us the contextual information. And then in the case you are busy or you are very busy, you haven't read the cover letter constitution, at least, okay, I give you the background information. And in May and April, and basically that's why Asia American Heritage Month, there was no planning, nothing going on. So, and the few Asia faculty and students and staff members talked to me, and then I worked with diversity office. Then we organized Asia American Heritage Month by Zoom. And then one of the suggestions from some of the colleagues that perhaps, we need to have a kind of council or groups. For example, on campus, there is a Black staff and faculty council, and also a few years back, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, there was Hispanic Latino staff and faculty council. So pretty much that group helped to organize some events, activities. So that's why in the summer, we worked with these 2 constituencies. And in fact, we CC the cabinet, we CC to this constitution. I even talked with the president of 2 groups. And that's point 1. And second, the engagement discussion. And then we pretty much use the template of Hispanic and Latino staff and faculty council with minor modification. And then we shared a few drafts with almost 100 faculty, Asia faculty and staff member, and some of graduate students too in the summer. And then we ask anyone to be on the planning committee. Then the planning committee was formed on a voluntary basis. And now we send the cover letter to get support from different constituencies. As you see, for example, faculty senator is one of the first. That's why the memo was sent to Vice President Bethany Red to a conflict to avoid conflict of interest. I cannot send to myself. And also I sent to the Graduate Council and sent to the AP Staff Council and Civil Service, and as well as the GPSC, Graduate and Professional Student Council, and USG, Undergraduate Student Government. In fact, I emailed them, talked with them, they're pretty much in support. And then Office of the Diversity, obviously Dr. Paul Fraser, I know his schedule couldn't allow him to be here. So he was involved too. So that's point 1, okay. And second, and what is this? In a sense, it's kind of open paper. We call it constitution or bylaw. So what's the mission? What's the goal? So pretty much, so these constituencies represent the voice of the person who identify themselves as the Asia American, Asia Pacific Islanders, and their descendants, and their allies, not necessarily Asia, but any supporters. So that's pretty much we would like to promote a positive community. Okay, that's important. And there are a few goals. Okay, for example, advocate for equity. So that's, important, and also help to recruit, to retain students, faculty, staff from student, faculty, and staff, okay. And I think that's why, we have these goals here. So I'm going to answer any question you may have.
And really quickly, just for clarification, you are seeking official endorsement from the Senate through motion and vote, correct?
Yes, just like graduate council too, yes.
So are there any questions? First, specifically about the AFSC, before we move to motion.
I do have one question actually. And Senator Lee, can you explain to us why is it so important to have this endorsement?
Well, we can say, in basically, we show that because some of the faculty members, in a way, so the Asia and obviously the legitimate constituency is the faculty senator. So, and that's why we need to have endorsement from faculty senator who represent faculty member, and faculty member also include the Asian American faculty members. And not just faculty senator, we need the endorsement, or at least, okay, they are informed from graduate council, GPSC, because some of the members could be student employees, they could be there. And then, in addition to this, and AP professional, and some of the staff member, administrative staff member could be members, and they should be informed, and also hopefully they will support, and civil service as well. It is related to the faculty because faculty senator is part of a legitimate constituencies, to answer your question.
There currently is a question in the chat asking, did the other groups get faculty senate approval first as well? And by that, I assume you mean the other ethnic councils on campus. Yes. Okay.
Did other groups get faculty senate approval? Well, excellent question. In the history, as far as I know, I know Hispanic, Latino council. I think they just worked with their group, and then they get a ratification support from the chancellor, and I think they didn't go through the faculty senator as far as I know. Oh, okay. Dr. Paul Fred, you're here. Can you give us some background information about the Hispanic, and did they get support from faculty senator?
Now, I'm not sure because both of those predate me. So I'm not sure how that all came to be.
Okay, and as far as I know, I should have asked them, but honestly, I do not know the answer. But in terms of transparency and constituency, at least it's important to keep them informed and also make sure they are well and they will offer support. Okay.
Elizabeth, you have another question?
Thank you. I just want to say, I think it's obviously an important group. I have no problem at all with this. And if the reason for bringing it up here is just to let people know about it, we should let people know about it, and that's great, and it can be advertised as any other group could be. I just don't understand why we would vote on it. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think, in a way, okay, it's important. We know that, okay, part of the university strategic plan, which that one of the strategic plan to advocate diversity, equity, and inclusion, and under the new Chancellor Nan. And we do not know what's going on in the past. I think this should show that, yes, this is part of the way, to get support from different constituencies. Given what happened in the past 2 years, hate crime against Asian Americans, Asian students and staff members, and racial profile against Asian Americans, I think this is a good time to have this organization have a constitution or bylaw, and also to seek support from other constituencies such as faculty senate, because faculty senate, faculty association both pretty much represent all the faculty members, including Asian faculty member, Hispanic faculty member, Native American faculty member, and African faculty members.
I appreciate that. And my concern is like, what would you do if we voted against it? You would still have this group. It's a very important group. And so I don't feel like our job is to say yes or no, you cannot have the group. I think it's just fabulous to inform us about it.
Well, I think, it's okay. I saw Patrick want to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I don't think approval is the correct term. I think they're just looking for an endorsement. That is to say, we find this to be important and we want to go on record as recognizing its significance. So I just want to just clarify. I think there's a slight, at least semantic difference there between approval and endorsement.
Thank you. That's a big difference. Thank you.
And I also want to mention that this is specific to the Constitution. So we're not saying that this is a yes or no to the group, but we support we would endorse their Constitution. Go ahead, Mike.
I think I agree with Elizabeth in a way, though, that I don't want us to get into a position where we are endorsing every new group that comes on campus. We could spend a lot of our meetings sitting here having these discussions when really it has no influence on what happens at all. And so I guess I'm a little bit concerned about just us starting some precedent that we don't want to get involved in, is all.
Well, may I say something, Vice President?
You can respond, yes.
Over 18 months ago, we had a resolution to have anti-systemic racism, and in fact, there was not really much, we haven't done much on faculty senator, and last year there was a racial profile against one of our faculty member, Min Chin Xiao, and faculty status welfare committee works on that, still work on that. And if we do not show our commitment, that means commitment to the resolution we endorsed and based on action, and then what else can we do? So just, point of information. And I just think that, again, okay, we use this as a way to, at least, okay, to inform and seek informal endorsement. This time, we have to prove it or whatever, because many of our faculty members on campus, they are Asian Americans.
Thank you. Khalid?
Yes, Dr. Lee, I do agree with you, about racial profiling, but, that's something that will stay forever, I've been hearing this for all my life, and if you look at most of the minority constituents of this country, there is all these laws and there is all these protections and everything, but you still have racial profiling. You're not going to get rid of it, I mean, it's going to be absurd, to say that, hey, we're going to stop it. I mean, to me, it seems like it's a good thing, for the faculty senate to show support, and we should show support to all minorities, and all, type of gender identities that we have, lesbian, gays, everything, because that's part of the landscape, and everybody should be living in peace with the others. But to me, it seems like probably at the highest level, at the chancellor's level and president's level, that's where probably most of this endorsement and work should be done to send the message to everybody within the, not only SIU Carbondale, but the SIU system, that the landscape is different and it's not all white, or it's not all this type of color or this type of religion. And we should actually, you know, consider and be more sensitive in the way we deal with each other in our work environment. And this is probably my advice.
Sure. I think your point well taken. I would like Dr. Paul Fraser, Vice Chancellor of Anti-Racism, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, to offer some comments or insights.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. I would say to the group, and first of all, thank you for inviting me today. But I would say to the group that we're looking for recognition and support of each one of the constituency groups. As far as voting on, I don't know if we should do that, but we do need the support, and I'm hoping that in each one of your colleges, it's how we show the support, and departments or colleges rather, how we show that support, but also that it's part of your unit of effectiveness plans, is how we move the needle across campus.
Thank you.
Right, if there are no other questions about this particular issue, then I'm going to ask if anyone would like to put forth a motion for the Senate to endorse the Constitution of the ASFC.
I so move.
I second.
Okay. Thank you. We will go to vote.
Eric Black. Amy Bro.
Yay.
Robert Broomfeld.
Yay.
Ying Chen.
Yes.
Elizabeth Dalala.
I'm going to abstain only because I'm still not sure exactly what I'm voting on.
Michael Eichholz.
Abstaining.
Scott Gilbert. Elaine Jakowski.
Yes.
Arash Kamahi.
Yes.
Soon-Hee Lee.
Yes.
Yu-Ting Lee.
Yes.
Patrick McGrath.
Yes.
Khalid Mixon.
I will vote yes, but I will have to remind everybody that we should probably also consider all other minority groups within SIU, not only this one here.
Grant Miller.
Yes.
Amanda Pangrazio.
Yes.
Mike Phillips.
Yes.
Jeffrey Pensky.
Abstain.
Bethany Rader.
Abstain.
Walter Ray.
Yes.
Lorelei Ritchie.
Yes.
Diane Sarko.
Yes.
Sylvia Smith.
Yes.
Joseph Stremick.
I'm also going to abstain because I'm not sure there's any policy that the Faculty Senate can actually endorse here.
Julie Tate. Abstain. Lee Cheng Wang.
Yes.
Sherry Watson. Rachel Whaley, I think I had to leave, and Jennifer Walker.
Yes. And I believe Michael Hyland's name was not called. I believe he joined the Zoom a few minutes late.
Oh, you're right. Michael Hyland.
I am here and I am going to abstain for similar reasons mentioned earlier.
Okay, and I missed Scott Gilbert. Oh, okay, Scott Gilbert.
He teaches after 2 o'clock.
Okay, that's right. Okay.
Right. Thank you for your attention and your vote on that issue. I will now really briefly want to open up for questions on the first issue that Patrick mentioned.
Well, I think if any other minority would like to bring the constitution, they are absolutely, and their constitution or bylaw were already approved by the previous chancellor in the past. If they are interested in bringing the bike, absolutely we support that.
All right. Are there any questions about the parliamentarian issue that Patrick brought up earlier? Yes, Joe, do you have a question?
No, just a comment really briefly, if you will indulge me on this. We've been going back and forth on the executive committee all year relating to how we should have what kind of term should we have a parliamentarian. This arises, if you might recall, that those new members on the Senate may want to hear this explanation because they don't know the context. We were doing voice voting. We were doing Zoom polling for our voice voting up into, we had an issue with it last November's meeting. And then at that point, there was an issue with how we should actually enforce our bylaws. And the fact that there are way too many pressures put on the presiding officer at most meetings to also act as effectively a parliamentarian as well as a presiding officer. So this is where this issue emerges out of this concern that there's too much being put on the presiding officer and other members of the executive committee. None of us are experts in parliamentary procedure, although we should all be very familiar with it. It's no excuse not to be familiar with it. And so we originally were intending to have a non-senator who would be a sort of a de facto employee of the Senate. But then, of course, that raised some other challenges about if you're receiving a stipend for doing this position, would you be able to have an independent position vis-a-vis the presiding officers, or would you outtail to them? And so we on the executive council have gone back and forth on this for probably 6 or 8 months.
Yeah, probably a year.
Context. I support a senator if there is a senator being willing to do this. Most other universities seem to have a senator, either that's elected by the rest of the Senate or is appointed by the Senate or some other process. So I think this is something that probably can work for us to have a senator do it.
All right, thank you. Yuting?
Yes, I would like to give the background information about the announcement, the publicity of the parliamentarian. In fact, as some of you be aware, we announced it twice last academic year, no response. And I was talking with Josh this semester. When school starts, we will resend the announcement. We'll see anyone want to apply or not. I think that's one option. Another option, I talked with Patrick Micros about possibly revise the resolution and to include our current senator to be a parliamentarian. So again, I will defer to governance committee.
All right, thank you very much. Are there other questions or comments for the governance committee? Right, if not, we can move on to the next item on the agenda. And I believe
I'm sorry, can I just add one thing?
Please, please, yeah.
The last parliamentarian I can remember was Tobin Grant back in the day. You know, we're asking people to do more, but I would say that whether or not you pay somebody, I think that you could expect them to be a professional. I don't, I really, take a little bit of issue with the suggestion that someone might kowtow to anyone. We're all professionals. If somebody volunteers or somebody's willing to do that, I would just expect them to be the professional that they are.
They were hired to be here at SIU.
Yeah.
Understood. All right. So Jeffrey, did you have something to add to this discussion?
Yes, just very briefly, if we do go with someone internal or allow for that, I think it might be worth exploring providing training. There's parliamentarian courses that are relatively inexpensive, and I think if the Senate would pay for those, we might be able to also satisfy this position more easily.
All right, thank you for the suggestion. Are there any other comments? All right, then we should move on, and I'm going to relinquish control back to you, Ting.
Thank you very much, Bethany, for doing this. And next one on agenda E and Undergraduate Education Policy Committee, Chair George Remick.
Okay, I have a few, I have no agenda items this month. We will have agenda items starting next month, but I do have a few broader announcements to make about the committee. Number one, we are hampered right now as a committee by the fact that 2 senators who chose in May to be members of the committee or were appointed by the committee, I should actually restate that, who were appointed by the committee on committees to be members have subsequently resigned from the Senate. These include 2 co-chairs that were also selected in May. And by the time we got to August, both of them had personal events in their lives or professional events in their lives that led to them not only being no longer being able to be co-chairs, but actually have to resign from the Senate. As I understand, elections are pending for these new senators to replace these senators, but it will be some time before we have stable leadership on the UEPC. I can serve as co-chair for only part of the year, and then in January I have a sabbatical and I'm out of the country. So, I will need to have a replacement. The Senate will need to have a replacement by then. We discussed last month with the registrar and the acting associate provost for academic programs 3 possible changes to the undergraduate catalog. In terms of policy, the UEPC in all 3 cases desired more time to study these issues. So we do not have any agenda items. As I said, through the good offices of Josh, we were finally able to locate 5 RMEs that programs had submitted just before we convened, we broke for our annual leave and did not, have any more agenda items during the summer. So those will be coming to you shortly. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Senator Schremek. I was reading the chat message, and Dr. Paul Fraser, you have an announcement. Dr. Fraser? I think he said he would like to add one more announcement if he can. Okay. And also, Patrick Micros, you have one comment here. I know it's about the previous discussion. Is Patrick, you have one comment in the chat room, so we're going to move on. And committee on committee, co-chair in Chokovsky and Sunki Lee, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Yes, committee has a few items.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just I skipped the budget committee. That's my oversight.
Okay, wait.
Is it okay? I would like. Could you hold on for a second? I think I skipped the budget committee. Mike echoes. I know.
Thanks, Ting. First, I would like to welcome Rachel Whaley to our committee. So we have one new committee member, which will come in very handy. We have a couple of fairly substantial items we'll be taking care of this semester. First, we met on September 6th to discuss those 2 items. One of those is a length of appointment for kind of the mid-level administrators. So right now, our understanding is that the school directors have 12-month appointments. There was a memo that Dr. Ling sent out earlier requesting or kind of asking for justification of why those 12-month appointments were needed, with the idea that maybe if we could get by with 10 or 11-month appointments for those positions, that would free up more salary for faculty. So we, as a committee, decided the way to approach this would be to invite some of those directors to our committee and have them kind of justify why they think those 12-month appointments are needed. And then also do a comparison with some of our peer institutes to see if similar level positions, what length of appointments those are. So we'll be addressing that over the first couple of months. Any questions about that before I move on to the more substantial task?
I just have a quick question, Mike. And I'm thinking that Jeff Punske might also be able to weigh in on this. Are those 12 months, is that protected in the contract, or is that entirely simply the higher administration decides, well, this person is going to serve for 12 months? I'm just asking, is that something that can be changed, or is it something that's to be bargained for?
Yep, I don't know. We haven't investigated it all yet. That's something we hope to do over the next month or two. But that'll clearly be the first thing we'll look at.
I can answer that. If it's an administrative appointment, the contract will be silent on the term, because we only cover employees within the bargaining unit. So the only type of administrative appointment that could potentially be within the contract are interim directors. All other positions are going to be exclusive of the contract.
Thanks for the clarification, Joe.
Yes, I just want to talk about something that's happened in my college. I don't know if it's happened elsewhere in the university. BOLA, of course, was the last college to effectively be reorganized into schools. A lot of this is very transitional at the moment, even into our second year in many cases. What I do know is, and I'm not to begrudge any of my dear colleagues who benefited from this, or maybe they have more workload responsibilities. It's hard to know, but I do know that the customary practice was when we had departments, and we had a lot more of them, for chairs to have 10 or 11 or perhaps 11-month contracts. And all of a sudden, the custom in my college is school directors have 12-month contracts all of a sudden. In some cases, it's not clear whether the additional workload is commensurate with that promotion. And if we're thinking about needing to maximize our budget, we have austerity on this campus. We've had austerity the entire 15 years I've been here, more or less, in terms of faculty losses that don't get replaced and so on. A lot of that is enrollment driven, and I'm not going to begrudge that other fact, but it also requires us to think about how we can be more effective in the administration we do have on this campus, rather than, oh, well, we've had reorganization. Now we have a new title. We're giving the school directors, is the workload commensurate with that new title, and is the pay commensurate with that new title? And maybe there's ways we can be more efficient as a campus. I just put that as a comment. Do with it as you will.
Thank you, Joe, for your comments. I think a very good question and very good comments. Any more questions for Mike?
Okay, then I would like to move on to our second, probably more substantial topic. The Provost's office asked the budget committee to develop a committee to address, to do an equity study, basically, primarily to address salary compression among the tenured and non-tenured track faculty. So the concern is that a number of the new faculty, because of a lack of raises, et cetera, throughout the years, a number of the newly hired faculty that are coming in as assistant and associate professors are coming in at near the same salary as the full professors that have been here for a longer period of time. And similar circumstances are occurring with the non-tenure track faculty lines. So they've basically addressed us to set up a committee to provide some input on how salaries may need to be adjusted to provide better equity within the university. The idea is that we will provide this study, results of this study to them, hopefully by the end of the semester or early into the spring semester. The administration will then take that information and negotiate with the faculty association ways that they can resolve any inequity at the beginning of the next fiscal year. They are also wanting to do an external comparison, but the preference is to do the internal equity adjustments first. And then after that is completed, the following year, compare our salary levels to our peer institutes. As a committee, we felt it would be more expedient to kind of address both those at the same time, even though I don't think the administration is going to act on it until after the end of this fiscal year. At least we'll have the information available to them to then beginning any actions they may take, shortly after the next fiscal year. So the way we would like to address this or plan to address this is to get representation from the committee from both the tenured and non-tenured tech faculty associations. Then also get a representative from human resources that has a strong background in where we can get salary information that would be needed to carry out the study, and then make sure that we have representation from each of the colleges on the committee. And we hope to put that committee together by the beginning of, or by our next meeting in October, early October, and begin to address kind of the information gathering at that point. Questions?
Any question for Mike? Okay, any more report from you? I know Dr. Fine Chado is not here. Mike, are you done?
I'm finished, thank you.
Thank you. Well, next one is committee on committee. I'm sorry to move. Okay, so Inan and Sung-Hee Lee, are you ready?
Yes. The committee on committee has a few items to report and get approved today. First, the university-wide committee requests were sent to all faculty throughout campus. Most of the committee positions were filled, but some positions still need more volunteers. So we resent the request to faculty yesterday. By next week, we will have the complete list of the committees. Second, the committee on committees was requested and approved for 3 new committee positions. First one was the approval of the new faculty senate members. At the end of the last spring semester, the 3 new faculty senate members were elected from the special election and assigned to each committee. The new senators are Sylvia Toms, Governance Committee, Walter Ray, Faculty Status and Welfare Committee, and Rachel Whaley, Budget Committee. The second committee position was a search committee member for the Director of Institutional Effectiveness and Planning. A volunteer professor, Elaine Drusky, was approved. The last one was the Faculty Senate representatives for the Honorary and Distinguished Service Award Committee. 2 volunteer professors, Ravi Karen and Jacob Nurman, were approved. Since Committee on Committee and Faculty Senate Executive Committees approved all these committees, now we would like to move to motion to request Faculty Senate to approve all these committee members.
So moved.
Anyone second?
I'll second.
Okay, I know a few hands. Okay, would like to have a vote to solidify those nominees from committee on committee. So, Junie, are you there?
Yes. Eric Black. And I know earlier his microphone didn't work.
Yeah.
Amy Bro.
Yay.
Robert Broomfeld.
Yay.
Ying Chen. Elizabeth Dalala.
Yes.
Michael Eichholz.
Yay.
Scott Gilbert. Michael Hyland.
Yay.
Elaine Jerkowski.
Yes.
Arash Kamai,
Yes.
Seung-Hee Lee,
Yes.
Yu-Ting Lee,
Yes.
Patrick McGrath,
Yes.
Khaled Mexam,
Yes.
Grant Miller,
Yes.
Amanda Pangrazio,
Yes.
Mike Phillips,
Yes.
Jeffrey Punske,
Yes.
Bethany Rader,
Yes.
Walter Ray,
Yes.
Lorelei Ritchie,
Yes.
Dana Sarko,
Yes.
Sylvia Smith,
I abstain. I'm one of the candidates.
okay, Joseph Shremick,
Yes.
Julie Tate, yes, Lee Cheng Wong,
Yes.
Sherry Watson,
Yes.
and Jennifer Walker.
Yes.
Okay. So all of the nominee approved. Thank you. Now we have next one on agenda, Vice Chancellor of Research, Graduate Dean, Dr. Costa Tsatsounis. Are you there?
I'm here. I've been here for the whole meeting. Thank you so much for inviting me. A pleasure meeting everybody. Some of you I've already met. I've spent my first 44 days on campus, meeting people, learning, getting informed, and I look forward to working with you. Let me see if I can share my screen. Okay, just wanted to give you a few words about Research and Graduate School. We started with, as the Provost Kamaraju mentioned, there was an onboarding of new faculty. We added to that a research workshop to not just for the new faculty, but also existing faculty to talk about services that OSPA is offering, pre-award and post-award, pivot, as well as compliance. That was attended by about 17 or 18 faculty, and we will continue offering these events and hope that we will have much broader participation. In addition to that, today at 4:30, the graduate school is organizing a fellowship workshop. We want to inform our students, graduate students, as well as juniors and seniors about opportunities for federal fellowships, from USDA fellowships to NASA to NSF GRF and so on. So if your students don't know about that, we've sent quite a few emails to inform them, and you think that this would be of interest to them, please let them know. This is a pretty broad discussion of federal fellowship opportunities, how to apply, and so on. We'd like to see an increasing number of our students to receive federal fellowships. Some other efforts. Tomorrow, there's a workshop for the directors of graduate studies, focusing on new policies, existing policies. There's a number of new directors who have joined their schools and colleges, so we want to make sure that they are informed of everything that we offer. It's not just a workshop to quote unquote talk to them. 1 hour will be spent listening to them, their concerns, their questions, and how we can improve our process and possibly policies to assist them. Earlier today, you all should have received a new proposal timeline, a draft proposal timeline. We think that this timeline will help our PIs, will also help OSPA and also research compliance. Very briefly, right now, basically all documents for a proposal need to be submitted 10 working days before the deadline. It's a deadline that's being violated quite often, so why have it if that doesn't make any sense? Second, I don't think it's conducive to the faculty who do meet the deadline that they can do the best work. So we've changed the deadlines. We'd like to hear from the faculty about their comments about how this will impact in a positive or possibly negative way their proposal writing experience. We've given until next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, 23rd, I believe, to receive comments.
We are in the process of installing Quali. It's a pre-award software that, again, the goal is to facilitate the signatures, the proposal, submission process, reporting, creating of accounts. Currently, we are connecting Quali to AIS, and we expect the full implementation to be ready February 26th, 2023. We're just ironing the final kinks to unveil conference travel support for graduate students. We're going to be offering $500 per student every 2 years to attend a conference where they will be presenting a paper or making a presentation, a poster, or having some kind of creative activity or artistic activity. So that right now the graduate school offers $100 per student. It's not very broadly advertised. It's very little used. So we're going to increase that to 500. Finally, I know the last thing might not impact a lot of you, but it will impact a number of us, of you all. Right now, we don't have a contract to clean lab coats. That's been an ongoing complaint of some of our faculty and graduate students. So we are setting up a contract with a company for cleaning lab coats. So there will be new lab coats every 2 weeks provided to faculty, students, postdocs, and so on working in labs. And here are the numbers of our last 3 years of our research performance. Orange is the proposal submitted. Compared to last year, we had an increase of 7%, but our awards have been increased by 20% and our expenditures by 11%. I also have to caution you that I cannot vouch for these numbers 100%. We are working to try to figure out exactly what we are reporting, how we are reporting it, and so on. But these numbers are very close to reality and have been also given to the Chancellor and the President, and we will present it to the Board of Regents tomorrow. So that's a brief report, and I'll open the floor to any questions you have.
Any question for Dr. Tsoutsonis? Okay, Senator Echols.
I just want to thank you for modifying the deadline dates, or at least proposing to do that. I think that's going to be incredibly helpful, especially when we're trying to do collaborative projects with individuals outside of our faculty, because trying to convince somebody at a different university that it has to be done 10 days in advance can be a really difficult task. I realize that adds a lot of stress to the OSPA personnel. And so if you could pass on my condolences, but appreciation for helping us with that. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate the feedback. I have to tell you that what is important from my end is that whatever we do that commits the university is checked and is correct. Our, our certifications, our budgets, our F&A rates. The PI should be given the opportunity and the responsibility to work until the last second, basically. And we'll make an effort, as if you look at the document, to make an effort to submit. But there's also a warning included there. If we are at the deadline of NSF grants and we hit with 80 of them, it might be difficult to submit the ones that arrive at the last second. So as long as there is this understanding and that the PI takes that responsibility, we're okay with it.
Thank you. And we can now only one more question. Senator Khalid Maxson, hopefully question to be brief.
Yes, very brief. I want to thank you first for those guidelines. At least now we have some directions, My experience actually has been always positive with the pre-award personnel, but I should mention actually, and that's actually something that many faculty brought lately, there is almost a non-response, if not actually no assistance from the post-award people at OSPA, which leaves certain faculties, in the dark when it comes to closing account or budgeting their, proposals and stuff like this. When they're spending, money, and suddenly they have, sometimes it takes time to get a budget purpose and to start spending. So they have to move money around and things like that. So they have no help. Actually, some of them showed me actually that they did not even receive answers for the emails that they send to the post-award, people at OSPA. How are you planning to get them more engaged in this process to facilitate, the work of our faculty?
Let me first of all clarify that closing the contract is something that the pre-award people do. And then creating the budget purpose number is something that the post-award people do together with finance and through AIS. Right now, we're in the process of auditing the processes we're doing. I'm not going to hide behind personnel or me being new. This is a full responsibility I take. We are bringing sometime next week 2 auditors from an outside university to look at our processes and see how we can improve. We're also currently submitting a bid for a post-award software. Right now, as you may know, our post-award people are working with spreadsheets in an outdated Access database. This does not really help in their performance or their productivity. So software is not always a solution. I agree with that, but it's not having the software is definitely a problem. So all I can say that within, I hope the next 6 months after we finish the audit, we may have some new processes and you may be a little bit more satisfied with the performance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Zozanis. Because of time, we're going to move to the report from IBHE representative, Dr. Ni Chang Wang, only 3 minutes.
Oh, good afternoon. It will be shorter than 3 minutes because there was no meeting since last faculty senate meeting, and we're going to have one the coming Friday. Hopefully, I will be able to report to you afterwards. Thank you.
Okay. Any question for her? Okay, Graduate Council, Dr. Thomas Vonesco.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. The Graduate Council met for the first time last Thursday, and we only had one item of interest. We approved the endorsement of the Asian Faculty and Staff Council. That's the end of the report.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas Valesco. If no question for him, we're going to move to IDOL Committee on Institutional Ranking, Education Quality, and we have 3 senators, actually 4 senators here, Mike Heinen and Senator Shramek and Jokovsky, you 3 of you or any of you?
We have nothing to report except that we're still trying to find a date on our calendars for our first meeting, and then to elect new leadership because of the fact that I will also be stepping down from leading that committee. So we will report next month, I imagine.
Thank you. Anything to add from Mike and Ina?
Nope, nothing here.
Okay. Old business about the meeting in October or spring. So I mentioned that yesterday we had emergency EOC meeting. We're still in the yellow red zone, and now we are going to have a few minutes on discussion, at least for next month's meeting. I saw hands here. Mira, you have a question? Professor Provost Kumracho? Oh, no, okay.
No, I don't have my hand up.
Oh, okay, no question. Okay, sorry.
Clarify.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Could you clarify what exactly you want us to discuss here? Is there a formal for us, or is that more you're seeking feedback? Could you clarify, please?
Well, for next month's meeting, do we meet in person or by Zoom? That's question 1. Second, okay, we need to, I know Graduate Council, they are now meeting by Zoom, and possibly in spring, they're going to meet in person. I think Dr. Thomas Vanesco, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
So
we haven't discussed this yet, so I cannot tell you anything about it.
Okay. Thank you. Joe?
So just for the benefit of all, we discussed this last week at the executive committee meeting. And Senator Eichholz in particular made a very good point, which is that on Zoom, we can often tune out and do other work and only passively participate in the meeting. Whereas if we're in person, seeing one another and reacting to one another, then we can have a more productive meeting. The concern is going to be, I think, twofold. One, people's safety concerns, and those are valid and genuine. We are still in the hopefully tail end of a pandemic, but we're still in a pandemic. We still have monkeypox and other things to be dealing with. And two, if we have a large lecture hall, which is, I think, one of the proposals in the new, we wouldn't be seeing one another. We'd be in a position where we wouldn't have all the benefits of being in person, which is we can see one another, react to one another, would really largely diminish if we're sitting in the same line, sitting in chairs behind one another, not actually being able to see one another. So I don't know where I would come down on this. I think I want to meet in person if it's possible, but only if we have a large enough room and we're sitting around a large table or something, rather than the options that have been presented to me and others on the executive committee thus far.
Okay, Senator Denana.
Thanks. I think Joe's points are really good ones. But somebody just told me that right before COVID, so I wasn't on the Senate yet, we had moved to meeting in the new student services building, I think. And I was told that the room that we had been meeting in was quite large. It was not shoulder to shoulder like in the old days in the river rooms. So maybe that would take care of all those concerns.
Bethany?
Yeah, I think if we want to take these sort of CDC guidelines, I don't think that room in student services would be big enough for social distancing, especially if we have guests, unfortunately. And I personally think that this is not an issue we're going to be able to settle through discussion with the Senate, because I think people have very strong opinions about whether they want to be in person or online. So this may be something that we have to come to a vote on.
Well, we only have 8 minutes left. So there are two options. I know that for some other constituencies, for example, AP staff, the faculty, the executive council, they meet in person. And then the general meeting, they meet by Zoom. And that's common one. And second, okay, for October, if I think given the situation, we only have about 8 minutes left. Maybe we will, again, I will defer to you guys. Okay, we will continue or have a discussion maybe in October, unless we have time to vote. Okay, Liz?
Yeah, I just want to say, if we're going to vote, we need to know exactly what we're voting on. Where would we meet?
Well, I think at this point, we only, I think, will maybe most likely we have no time to vote. We only have about 7 minutes left. We have maybe we have no solution unless we will continue in October. Maybe we'll continue to have Zoom. Faculty Senate Executive Council, maybe I can work with them. Hopefully we can meet it in person, because we only have 10 or 12 people. And for this platform, we have a guest administration, almost 39 to 40 people. So technology-wise, I talked with Josh and Bethany. We're still in the middle of working on that. Joe?
So I put this in the chat. I don't know if you have your chat open or not. We're going to have some Zoom capability no matter what. We have colleagues from the School of Medicine.
Yeah.
Who have before, a long time ago, when I was proxying in and off over the years for other colleagues at that time in the Senate. We always had capability for the school medicine folks. I would suggest that if the trend in the desire by the Senate, and we don't know, we're going to have to vote on this, and we're probably also going to have to think long and hard about this. I don't think it's an easy decision. We go into a personal meeting again. I think we should extend all courtesies to all senators, whether they're in Springfield or not, to also be free to participate via Zoom.
Well,
that could, and therefore we don't. That could possibly be a third solution that's sort of in between.
so in the chart, what was the result of survey? So that's the room. Well, we only have 5 minutes left. We need to move on, and if needed, we may have to get feedback from all the faculty senator. And for October's meeting, maybe we can continue to do doodle poll, even though some of you may not agree. So unless we're going to have a motion to extend our meeting, which I do not want to waste your time. And is it okay? We can move to the next one. The new business announcement. So I know Dr. Paul Fraser, you have one announcement in the chat. Dr. Fraser, what's your announcement?
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Last year in the fall and the spring, we had 2 mental health days. We were proposing to have a mental health day for that to be a continued practice. And so for this fall, we're proposing to have that on October 14th. Is the week of homecoming. So it'll be that Friday of homecoming. We'll have same type of events. We're not asking that courses be canceled at all, just that we encourage students and faculty to participate.
Thank you.
I think last year, some faculty gave students credit for participating in some of the events.
Very good. You may send some more information to us, then we can share it with our faculty members, okay?
I will send that just as soon as the final draft is completed.
Sure, thank you. Any other announcement? We have 3 minutes left. Okay, if there is no more announcement, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I move to adjourn.
Anyone second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, just raise up your hands. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the semester.